not this page, not that page. Where is it? Okay. Okay, can you guys see it? Thumbs up? Okay. Okay, and of course it's not on the right slide. Okay, so I personally this week have been kind of struggling with my personal development and trying to like know what to talk about in social media. So before I get into that, I just kind of wanted to recap a little bit of like what was going on this past week. I don't know if you guys were able to listen to the recap, like just the short recording. It's like 30, maybe 40 minutes, but there's a recap of Super Saturday. And when I listened to it and just kind of looked at Noelle's notes from the Team Thrive call and things, it kind of just seemed like the biggest thing that they were emphasizing was that they wanted us to get to know the newer products, the new line better. Because, you know, we have Shakeology and we have the like the programs and things, but they came out with the performance line and the Shakeology Boost, which are like two really good ways that we can help people with just feeling better physically and emotionally and things. So that's in this FAQ right here, in FAQ 2416, I think, and it has both the information on the Beachbody Performance line as well as the Shakeology Boost. I'm not going to go into tons of detail about them both, but I've been using the Digestive Boost, and it really helps me. And then I've also tried the Energize, and it's really good. And just kind of by way of information, the Performance Pack with the Energize and the Recovery is a way that you can also earn successful points, like if they get an HD order. And I believe, I have to check in the FAQ again, but I believe you can substitute Shakeology. You can substitute this for Shakeology, the Recovery and Energized. Okay, so that's Super Saturday. If you haven't watched it, I would encourage you to go and listen to that because it's really good stuff. They're always a little bit silly sometimes, but that's kind of the nature of the guy who usually runs them. These guys aren't on the call right now, but Monique had her first challenge pack sale this last week, I think actually just on Tuesday, and she's been trying really hard to like help people and just hasn't been wanting to be pushy, and so she's done a really good job of just building relationships, and it finally paid off, and she was able to sell a challenge pack to her sister-in-law, I believe. And then Ashley, who's in Las Vegas or en route to Las Vegas right now, just went Emerald yesterday, so that's awesome for her. Where was I? Okay, so Team Cup. I don't know. I know for sure that Monique is on a team, and I'm not sure if you and if Brooklyn, if you and Jackie have found a team yet. But if you haven't found a team and you'd like to be on one, it's just going to be like, it's not going to be something that would be a crazy extra obligation in your day. It's just going to be something that would help you stay accountable to what you're trying to do with like building your business. Oops. So during the month of August, though, because I'm running my own team, I'm not going to plan to do any Team JoySeekers, and Noelle's not going to do any Team Thrive calls, just so that we can really focus on our Team Cups teams. And I can always share the resources and things that I'm doing with my Team Cup team with you guys, but that's just kind of where my focus is going to be for the month. So I guess that'll kind of let you guys off the hook a little bit so you don't have to worry about figuring out when to schedule a team call, but that's just going to help me to not be crazy. Let's see. So we have an accountability group starting on August 3rd, and then I'm planning to start a second one on August 10th just to kind of catch the stragglers of people who want to, you know, get in on size that's still going to be on promotion for August, and then for 21 Day Fix, which is still on sale till tomorrow at, I think it's 9 p.m. your time, but like midnight Eastern time. Bring the Bling Diamond training, that group starts on August 3rd, and then I already said this at the bottom, but my other thing is I want you guys to be thinking about what personal development book or like audiobook or physical book or what do you call them? Electronic, like Kindle version of a book. Like what personal development book are you reading right now? Because if you're not reading one, then you need to read one. I can say for one, I haven't really been reading mine, and I was suffering for it this week. So that's kind of one of the two things I wanted to talk about in this. Let me pop back up here. Oh, hold on. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to stop the screen share for just a minute. Did you guys have any questions, or are you good with the announcements? Jackie's good. I know your thumb is like hiding in the sun. Okay. Okay. So back to this. Okay. So this week I just wanted to talk to you guys about personal development. A couple of the things that we talked about at Summit. One of the quote, or one of the things that stuck with me was that, you know, whatever you're doing in your life, be it that you're trying to lead other people in, or just to be an example in, it has to start with you. You can't be a leader in any other way. And so, like, we focus on adding value to build relationships in the Beachbody business and as a coach. So when you're adding value to your own life with personal development, that's something that is extremely necessary, because it kind of gets, I don't know if it's the same way for you, but it gets the same, or it gets to be like where I feel drained from like investing so much in other people if I'm not investing in myself. So a couple suggestions: you can use the podcast app on your phone if you have an iPhone. There's the Shalene Show, The Charged Life, Build Your Tribe, Power of Moms for anyone who's a mom. And there's like a ton of other good ones out there. But these are just some simple ones that you can listen to. So if you're feeling like it's hard to sit down and read, then just listen to a podcast on your way to work. YouTube, there's a subscription you can get. I don't know if you can get it through YouTube or if you have to go to darrendaily.com, but Darren Hardy, the author of The Compound Effect, has just like 2 or 3 minute quick videos that he gives just free access to every day, and he'll send a new one to you every single week. Hi, Monique. Can you hear us? Give me a thumbs up if you can see things. Sorry. Pause. Okay, so books to read. If you haven't read Go for No, it's really short. It's really simple. And the concept behind it is pretty much that you want to be looking for like no to challenge groups, looking for no to, I don't know, it just kind of reminds me a little bit of like of missionary work. So like when Cameron, my brother, was on his mission, he would go and talk to everybody he met, and a lot of times people would say no to him. And so if they said no, he would just go to talk to another person and another person and another person. So it's just the idea that you're going for as many no's as you can in a day or a week or a month. The Slight Edge, I think most of you are a little more familiar with. The Compound Effect, The Charge, The Millionaire Next Door. There's a lot of ideas of personal development books that you can read, or that you can get an audiobook. Jackie, I think you'd mentioned Audible. Is that what it's called? I think Audible, yeah, Audible is one where you can sign up and you can get free audiobooks to listen to. But the biggest thing is that, especially with personal development, you're kind of in charge of yourself. No one's going to tell you what to do. We're going to give you all kinds of ideas, but you have to pick and choose which ones are going to be the ones that are valuable to you and that you apply every day. So that's kind of where I was going, is that the daily vital behaviors in Beachbody. There's personal development, and there's now I can't think of the other two. I just was thinking of them earlier. Personal development, be a product of the product, and invite lots of people. So personal development is something that I would definitely encourage you to make no matter what in your day, just because even if you don't get in Beachbody things as far as inviting goes or whatever, or you just maybe you miss your workout or your nutrition isn't very good, at least your mental well-being is going to be in a good place. You can be whatever you want. So if you have doubts or fears or worries, then throw them in the trash. And I kind of mean that literally. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so just today, in the last 20-30 minutes while I was waiting for the call to go live, this was just a few quotes that I found in the personal development book I'm reading right now. That's called Mentoring 101. And so one of the things says, there are no hopeless situations, only men who have grown hopeless about them, by Marshall Folk, I think. I don't know. But that just really applied to me because today I've just been feeling kind of down. Brooklyn, what are you doing? I've just been feeling really down and just like tired and pregnant and fluffy and all kinds of things. And so this was a good reminder to me that there's not really any hopeless situations. There's just people who grow hopeless about that situation. Another quote that I found was, people are never more insecure than when they become obsessed with their fears at the expense of their dreams. And this made me think of myself. This made me think of like a lot of you guys, just the things that you've talked to me about and the things that you've been worried about. So one of my challenges to you at the end of this call is going to be to pretty much write down anything that you feel like is holding you back, whether it's in school, in work, with your Beachbody business, in your marriage, in your relationships with, family, and just write down anything that you're feeling unsure about and just look at it once you've written it all down, and then shred it or rip it up. Because just the act of actually physically destroying it is I don't know, for me, it was really uplifting the first time I did it. I should do it again because it's not something you can do just once. And then this last one is by Henry Ford, and he says, one of the greatest discoveries that a man makes, one of his greatest surprises, is to find he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do. So I think sometimes we surprise ourselves. So Monique, I mentioned this earlier, but I had kind of just pointed out to everyone that you sold your first challenge pack this week, and that's exciting, and that it's something that maybe took a little bit longer because you were, and maybe you were nervous about it, but that it still was something that you achieved, and then now it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Okay, so this is something that if you've read The Slight Edge, then you'll be familiar with this, but I love this, and I have used it before, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I'm not always the best at it. Moving things. Hold on. Okay, I wanted you guys to be able to like see the whole thing, and it's disappearing on me. Okay, there we go. So I made it a little smaller, sorry, but so the Slight Edge talks about how there's this formula for happiness, and that if people would just do these simple things every day, or a mixture of them, that they would be more happy and they would be more successful. This is supposed to say happy habits. Happy habits. Happiness formula. So the Slight Edge plus these happy habits equals success. So the first one is to write down 3 things you're grateful for every day. Have a gratitude journal. And I've done this before, like with my personal journal, just written down specifically if I didn't have time to write in my journal, just like 3 things I'm grateful for. And sometimes it's silly, but the hard thing is that you try and come up with 3 new things every day. So it shouldn't be like, I'm grateful for my mom, I'm grateful for my kids, I'm grateful for my, husband. It should be like specific things. And, it can start general, but just trying to be specific, because that's actually what helps trigger the hormones in our brain that make us feel good for feeling grateful. But another thing is to journal 2 minutes daily about one positive experience from the last 24 hours. And this one can kind of be hard sometimes, like especially if you've had a bad day, but just finding that one thing to feel positive about, even if it was something simple. And to meditate or pray, every day meditate for like 2 minutes, or just say your morning and night prayers if you're a religious person. And to do an act of kindness or an act of service every day for someone else, and exercise. So as coaches, we pretty much have like exercise 15 minutes daily down mostly. We might struggle with it here and there, but for the most part, that's one that most of us have come to the conclusion that it's kind of a must. But the other 4 are sometimes a little bit more difficult to implement. So he suggests picking one to work on for a week. Or actually, I think he says 21 days, but I'm going to challenge you guys to work on it for a week, because I think you can see a difference in a week. So, and I'll recap like the things that I want you to think about this coming week. Let's see. Can I go to the next slide? Okay. Let me pause for just a second. Uh-oh. Okay, good. Okay, you guys are all unmuted. Did that make sense? Like, was that helpful? Like, to talk about personal development? I just felt like it was something I was really struggling with this week, and I felt kind of silly, but I just felt like something maybe everyone could hear, because I feel like we all struggle with it, like with feeling motivated and things. So I had one more subject that I wanted to talk about, and it was also one that we talked about at Summit. Are you guys all good on time? Do we have like another 10, 15 minutes? Okay, I'm going to mute you again. Okay, back to screen share. Okay, so one of the things that we talked about that I thought was really neat was called, the ladies who did it, the coaches who did it, titled it Leveraging the Power of Your Story. One of the first things they started out with was this quote. Tara Carr was the name of the elite coach that did the training, and she said, the worst story ever told is the one that's not told. And so, she kind of just talked about how most of the time people don't talk about their story, whatever story that is, be it, a weight loss story as a coach or a personal development type story. They don't talk about it because they're not really sure how to. So she kind of walked us through how to develop your story. And so she asked, have you ever struggled with self-doubt or depression? Have you ever had a physical transformation where you've lost a significant amount of weight over some period of time? Have you ever struggled with living paycheck to paycheck? She just kind of let us think about those for a few minutes. And then she talked about how, your story that you can share, with people, like the keystone of you being able to connect with people is always going to be one of three types, or a mixture of a couple of these different types. It'll be like a physical change, a financial change, or an emotional change. So she had us kind of think about like your trials equal your triumphs over time, and you're struggling into your story all the time. And if you have something that's causing you difficulty in life, then just kind of to think of that adversity as your advantage. A diamond doesn't get made into a diamond instantly. It has to go through a lot of change and a lot of refinement before it changes into a diamond. Your mess is your message. I loved that. I thought that was really funny, and really applicable for a mom or maybe even like a college student or a teacher starting the beginning of the year, because at the moment you probably feel like your life is a little bit of a mess, whether it's your room, your classroom, or just in general life. But no one is perfect, so sharing your imperfections can be a source of inspiration to other people. One thing she did say, though, is that if you're ever struggling with something severely, and you haven't really come to a point where you've been able to feel more positive about it, then to not share about that struggle until you've reached a teaching moment in it. Something that you can share with others that shows you've gained something because of the trial. So if you don't feel like you're quite to the end of that moment yet, then don't share it, because it'll come across more as negative, if that makes sense. Okay, so she broke it down and talked about, let me get back into the full slide thing so you guys can see it better. But she broke it down into just some steps of how to tell your story. And it's pretty much, like if you think of a storybook, it's like there's a when, there's a what, and there's like a how to the whole story, whether it's the story of the Little Red Riding Hood or Cinderella. So how long ago did it happen? Most Disney type movies or fairy tales start with once upon a time, a long time ago. But just how long ago did something happen? What was happening specifically, and what did I do? And how was that situation resolved? So I'm going to go into that a little bit more in a minute, but she talked about how you don't actually have to share your whole story of whatever your story is in this big giant chunk. It's actually better to not share the whole thing all at once, because if you share too much at once with people about your weight loss journey, or you share too much at once about your personal development changes, or whatever has happened for you that's made you feel like you wanted to inspire other people. Sharing too much ends up having a little bit more of a turnoff for them. So sharing small pieces keeps your story alive, and it keeps your audience engaged. And so when you're sharing things on Facebook, on social media, just ask yourself, is this something that's going to inspire other people? Is it something that's going to influence them for the better? And is it something that's going to potentially make a difference in their life? That's going to make them want to be better and want to try harder in whatever aspect it is. Now, of course, that's not always the case, because sometimes, bye, Brooke. Talk to you later. But it's something that just I'm losing my train of thought. It's not always going to be something that is just specific to a story. It's not bad to share like a date night picture or those kinds of things, because that keeps your life real. But at the same time, just like making sure that you are continuously sharing the pieces of your story and what brought you to coaching, what brought you to Beachbody, because the more often you're sharing it, the more often people are going to see it. And the more they see it, the more it's going to be an influence on them. So one of the things that they said that I loved was to just be you, because everyone else is taken. I thought that was kind of funny, but it's totally true. Let's see. Okay. So when you develop your story, like as you're developing this story, and I know I keep talking about story, and the first time I heard about this, it was like super confusing for me. But when you develop your why, essentially, that's your story, you need to practice telling it. So take a video of yourself, talk to yourself in the mirror, use your spouse as a guinea pig, or your sister, or someone, but just share it with people in person, on social media, at Super Saturday. If you have a success partner yet, then share it with a success partner. You can share it on a team call like this. If you feel comfortable doing that, then that's great. But you have to tell it and you have to share it for it to be more effective. So did you guys by chance, just give me a thumbs up, did you guys by chance have a time to listen to the call that I did a couple weeks ago before I went out of town about, I think it was about Bo Eason? Did you listen to that by chance? Okay, I'll try and post the link again, because he's really, really good at like just telling about like how you can like develop who you are, and that is a identifiable for other people. Like, because sometimes we think we know who we are, but we're kind of afraid to really admit, what our story is or what our why is. And so then because we don't admit that, then we end up not sharing it as much with other people. Okay, so this is kind of similar to breadcrumbing, but the art of storytelling is to reveal it in chapters. So you start with a simple, the when, what, and the how, and you get comfortable with one aspect of your story and you share it like all the time. So one of the pieces of my story and my why that I've become comfortable with is talking about my postpartum depression. It's something that was difficult to begin with to talk about, but that's become more comfortable for me because I've done it so many times. I've shared it in a video before. I've shared it in Facebook posts. I share it in just pieces. I talk about it. So I feel like people are pretty familiar with the fact that I've struggled with that. But get comfortable with that one piece and share it a lot. So whether it's your before and afters or anything, just make sure you're sharing it frequently. Pick a day of the week that you want to share your story. So then you can do this like by developing short stories and writing them down, like typing them up or writing them in a journal, and just make sure they have a clear beginning and an ending and like a segue to whatever point you're trying to make with sharing that. So if your story is about, for instance, for me, if it's about depression and trying to show that you can get yourself out of depression by, exercising and eating well and things like that, then you would want to draw the story back to how that happened. So tips to remember, and I forget these a lot, so these are good tips for me, but perfect people alienate others. So if you show your flaws and you're okay with them, then people are going to be more likely to want to follow you and to want to be involved in your social media journey. It's okay to share success. Like if you have a success, a rank advancement, or you sell a challenge pack to someone for the first time, or you go emerald, then it's okay to share success. It's good to share success, but to also just share how you got to that successful point too, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Don't just share the end. Share often on social media. So that's why we suggest posting 2 to 3 times a day, sometimes more if you get to kind of be more comfortable with it. But try not to post too much because that gets annoying. Like if you post every 30 minutes, then nobody's going to want to follow you because you're clogging up the newsfeed. But know your audience and try and write the post to people. And you're not going to know your audience until you start to kind of pay attention to who's responding and to who you like responding. But writing posts specifically to people, like as if you're talking to them. I can't remember the person that it's in, but like, I think it's second person, like, have you ever? That's kind of the way that you could specifically talk to someone through a post so that when they read it, they're thinking like, this is me. I feel this way. Oh, look, we have 10 minutes left. Yay. Here we go. Okay, so now what? One of the things I want you guys to remember is that, no matter where you're at in this business, I want you to believe that you matter and be intentional in sharing, your why, your story of, who you've become and how you're getting to where you'd like to be. So this is just kind of a brief snippet of my story, and it's not one that I've shared before, I don't think, with you guys or with anyone. I wanted to try and do something that was new, but here's my when, my what, and my how. So my senior year of high school, in the last semester, I was extremely depressed, and I had a really poor relationship with myself. There were a lot of external factors. I had a situation with a boyfriend that he was not a good person for me to be around. And I had I don't know, I just didn't feel good about myself. I didn't like myself, and I had a lot of doubts about my decisions for college, and I'm pretty sure, some of those are pretty normal for senior year, but for me, it was really debilitating, and it made it so that it was difficult for me to function. And I honestly could say that I hated myself. Like I hated everything about myself. And the reason I can say that is because I sat down with my mom, and I was really emotional. I just finished with school, and I walked in. I was the only one home because all of my siblings were still at school, and she was like, "Are you okay? Do we need to go and sit down with a counselor?" And I, told her, like, I don't need to talk to a shrink. Like, I'm fine. I can deal with this. And, typical teenage whatever. And I just said something, and it triggered a moment for her and I, that she told me to just tell me everything that I thought that I hated about myself. And so for I don't even know how long it was. It was probably 5 to 10 minutes. I sat there and I cried a lot, and I it was hard for me to say all of these things because I was finally realizing how negative I felt about myself and that was a problem. But I just told her everything that I hated about myself, from my hair to my toes, to my inability to finish something. Like I think I had just quit calculus because it was overwhelming me. And so I did this, and I didn't feel instantly better, and I was still really emotional, and I still was struggling a lot with a lot of things. It didn't make it go away. But just doing that and kind of listing everything out freed me from all of those negative thoughts that I'd been bottling up in my head. And so now today, I do personal development, and I've found that over time, because even after having a baby and struggling with postpartum depression, I'm well past the postpartum depression point. And I think that in general, depression is just something that I struggle with. So I do personal development every day so I can keep myself from falling back into negative thought patterns. So sometimes my personal development is a book, and if I can, I make it a book because I feel like that influences me more. But other times it's just listening to a podcast, and that's all I can do for hours, is just listen and do stuff to keep myself busy. So that's just kind of a quick, I think it took me 2 or 3 minutes to share that. I could probably make it less if I didn't talk so much. So my call to action for you guys for this next week I think you can, let me see. Okay. I think you can see it all now. But I want you to write a list of everything that's holding you back in life, in this business, in your relationships, in school, whatever it is, and just take a good look at all of that and then throw it away or rip it up or burn it. I don't care. But just get rid of it, because I don't want you to be thinking about it anymore. I want it to be something that you can just like essentially bust it and release it, because it's not something that you need to be stressing about if it's something that's constantly worrying you. It's something that's just holding you back from being successful and being happy. So speaking of happy, I want you to try and implement one new happy habit from the Slide Edge for the next 7 days and see what effect it has on your life in this business. Whether it's just to write down 3 things you're grateful for, or to what was the other one? To think about a positive experience for, a few minutes every day, or to do an act of service. It doesn't matter to me which one it is, but pick one and try it for 7 days and track, write down what you're noticing about it. Even if it's just notes on your phone or just a brief little post-it that you put on your mirror to okay, this happened, this is what I did. But keep track of it so that you don't forget. And then finally, the other thing I want you to do is just to think about one piece of your story and share it in a 1 minute video with me and on social media. So the way that you can do that, and we have 4 minutes left, but the way you can do that is you can go to Zoom and you can offer to host a call, and then instead of inviting anyone to it, you simply record it. And then once you're done, you hit end meeting and it'll record it for you. And I'll show you guys how to do that in a second. I'll do a follow-up video that'll be attached to the team call tomorrow so you can see how to do that. Okay, I think that's all I have. Let me unmute you guys for a couple minutes. So we have, how do I unmute? Okay, unmute all. Okay, so now I'm echoing. That's weird. Okay, was that helpful? Did that make some sense? Did I give you too much homework?
Are we going to be able to get a copy of the PowerPoint?
Yes. I actually already saved this. I made a folder in the Google Drive for the Team JoySeekers Drive, and I think it's labeled as team calls, but it should have this specific PowerPoint in the team call, and I'll also share the link with this recording so you can look over this again and listen to me talk again if you really want to. I don't remember what I was going to say. Do you guys have any other questions for me? Things you're concerned about, what I can help you with in the next 3 minutes before our time is up?
I think I'll just text you or call you if I have any questions that come.
Yeah, that sounds good. Really, I'm so grateful you guys got on. I'm sorry it was kind of long in the making and the doing and everything. But I definitely appreciate you guys getting on. I know it was weird with the time difference. When I'm back in Arizona, it won't be so bad. Okay. Well, I will be in touch with you guys just this next, over the next week, just to see how you're doing. And Monique, I'll check in with you tomorrow about your husband. I'm going to